I'm honored to have with me one of my favorite storytellers in the birth space. Tonya Lewis Lee is an award-winning producer, entrepreneur, and advocate for women's health. This year, she co-produced Aftershock, now streaming on Hulu. Go watch it, everyone. A powerful documentary which follows the stories of two amazing men whose lives are forever changed by Black maternal deaths. Tell us a little bit about your own birth experiences and how they've shaped you as a woman, perhaps as a producer in your own journey.
Yeah, I think it's a long time ago now that I actually gave birth. My oldest is 27 and my youngest is 25. But I will say that when it was time for me to when I was pregnant, I was relatively young these days. I guess as people not that young, but I was 27, 28 when I gave birth to my daughter, 30 when I gave birth to my son, and I think that back then I didn't feel very empowered. I think I went to the doctor. In fact, the first OB-GYN I had was a friend of my family's. And I sort of followed her lead, and everybody around me was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And this is what you should do. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is what I should be doing. And um, I didn't really have a lot of agency. I just sort of fell into things. When I had my son, the first OB-GYN that I had moved out of the New York area, so I had to find another doctor. I knew I wanted a black doctor, so I found another black woman. But in retrospect, not really probably the best doctor for me. And again, just was not aware of the kind of agency that I should have had. And I would say that. Look, I think any woman going through birth, when you come out of it, no matter what your birth experience is, you go through it is a rite of passage, and you do come out on the other side a mother, a sort of a different woman. And I think that having children, I don't know that my birth experience, because again, as I said, I didn't feel as empowered as I should have. But I do feel as a mother that I am more empowered, stronger than I knew I could ever be. And I hope that for my daughter and my son's partner, when he has one, who he has a child with, I hope for them that they have a more sense of empowerment, certainly, than I did. And now that I know, I hopefully helpful, but not in the way.
Well, I always think of this work as something we're doing for our children and our children's children, right? And that it is, generational and perhaps two generational work for us to shift what we're trying to shift. One of the things that I'm so interested in and inspired by is this narrative in Black maternal health. And we've had these conversations. Tell me, like, what concerns you, or what has perhaps concerned you about the narrative in Black maternal health, and what excites you about what we're seeing in the narrative of Black maternal health?
Well, what has concerned me had been this sort of narrative that Black women dying at higher rates than white women in the United States from childbirth complications was her fault, was the fault of the Black woman. It's her fault that she, first of all, she's in poverty. It's her fault she's in poverty. It's her fault that she's not healthy. She doesn't take care of herself. She doesn't go to the doctor. She doesn't seek help. And so therefore, ultimately, the system is there for her, but it's not, she's not accessing it. And that's just not true. It's just not the facts. Certainly from my experience in knowing Black women, meeting all sorts of Black women across the spectrum. And so what's exciting to me right now is that that narrative is shifting. I think what I am seeing is that healthcare providers, hospital systems, insurance companies are looking at the data, because data is what drives them. And they're realizing they cannot blame Black women for the circumstances in which we find ourselves today, and that they have a role to play and how to make it better. Now, at the same time, there does remain a little resistance But I'm okay with that as long as we're having the conversation, which I see happening. And so I'm excited because I also know that there are amazing people out there who've been doing this work for a long time. People like yourself, Kimberly, people like many of the people we know who are on the front lines day to day, nobody else knows, grinding out there without a lot of shine, without a lot of coin, to really make for better birth outcomes for all of us. And I think we're getting down to it, and I think as a nation we're going to have to make the decision about, now that we know what we know, are we really going to do something about it, or are we just going to let it continue to go as it's going?
And so when we talk about this idea of, kind of storytelling in Black birth, I want to talk to you about Aftershock, the documentary now streaming on Hulu, which has just been phenomenal. It's so empowering. It's so inspirational. I mean, it also is rage inducing. There are you will be screaming, but I think that at the end you walk away feeling hopeful. Tell us a little bit about that storytelling process, what that was like for you and your co-producer, and why you decided to tell this story.
Right. Well, first of all, it goes back to what we were just talking about, striking that balance of telling the story of something that is scary and traumatic, quite frankly, for our community, but trying to tell that story to raise awareness, but at the same time, trying to be inspirational and empowering. Because the last thing I want people to come away from this film feeling is fear to give birth, because I want lots of brown babies out there. We are such a small segment of the population as Black Americans that I want us to keep procreating and procreating. So I hope that people come away from the film like, okay, when I have a baby, I'm going to look for the situation that works for me, and I'm excited to do this, even though yes, we see tragedy happen for some people. And so for Paula Eiselt, my co-director and co-producer, it was really important that we strike that balance. And we really wanted people, so I appreciate you saying that we wanted people to come away feeling inspired and hopeful. But at the same time, we wanted people to understand that when a mother does die, she's not a number, she's not a statistic. She really is a person who leaves behind children, partners, parents, family, community that is devastated by her loss. And so it matters that she is lost in this way.
Welcome to Birthright, a podcast about joy and healing in Black birth. Come get your joy. It is and always has been your birthright.